Sony brought us out to the Red Bull Stadium in Jersey to test out the new 200 to 600 millimeter lens. This fills a gap that they've had. People who wanted to shoot at this zoom range had to use a third-party lens. And the fact is, they didn't autofocus very well. So we're pretty excited to test this out, see what the optical quality is like, see how the image stabilization works, and maybe most importantly, see how it autofocuses. So let's go shoot the Red Bulls game.
Unlike most competitors, the Sony 200 to 600 has internal zooming, so it always stays the same size. That should also help keep dust out of the lens. How useful is the 200 to 600 zoom for shooting soccer from the field? Well, we took about half of the shots at 600 millimeter from across the field, but that's partially because the Red Bulls were really dominating the second half and were on the opposite side of the field from me. On our side of the field, where most of the best shots were taken, 200 millimeter was too long, and we wished for a shorter zoom. How useful is the 200 to 600 zoom for shooting wildlife? Almost all of our shots were taken at 600 millimeter, but the ability to zoom back to 200 was occasionally useful and definitely helps beginners who struggle to find subjects in the frame. We wish Sony would make a 600 millimeter f5.6 prime in this price point, but until they do, the zoom is your best bet. With the A9, focus tracking was excellent, and it had no problem tracking moving subjects. Focus acquisition was nowhere near as good as the $13,000 600mm f4 we were testing at the same time. However, with the A7R3, focus tracking was noticeably slower and it hunted more, but it was still good enough for most uses and comparable to what we'd experienced with most DSLRs. When focusing at close distances, we found the lens doesn't reach the full advertised 600 millimeter. It's close though, and that type of focus breathing is common with zooms. For most photographers, I think the 200 to 600 is a better choice than the $13,000 600mm f4. The zoom itself makes it much easier to find a subject in the frame, which is a challenge for beginner wildlife and sports photographers using big telephoto lenses. We frequently found ourselves zooming back when we could to get close enough to the subjects. The 200 to 600, should you buy it? First of all, it's your only non-adapted option, so there's that. You don't have a choice unless you'd like to use an adapted lens, and we found they just don't work as well. 2, we found no flaws with this, no major flaws anyway. In fact, I thought it was an excellent lens. Tony and I were shooting with this and the 600mm f4 prime, and I thought that I'd be jealous or that we'd be switching back and forth so we could fight over that 600mm, but this lens was amazing. It blew me away. For the price difference, $2,000 versus I think $13,000, this is an incredible lens. It's sharp, it's pretty fast, not as fast as the prime, but it worked well enough to get the job done, and I thought it was a great lens. If you'd like to see us put these lenses up against the competition, subscribe. You could give it a like. You could just generally support me by thinking about me. You could do that. Thanks.